Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to be sharing an interview that was done at Gamescom recently by Gaming Boulevard. The interviewer is Lander Van Der Biest, and he is interviewing Tim Lamb, the lead creative producer for Starfield. This is a question and answer format, and I went ahead and added chapters for each question, so feel free to skip to the parts you like, and I will be providing a little bit of my commentary in there as well. Inspiration behind this DLC. What made you want to expand Starfield in this particular direction? Tim Lamb. Well, after the main game launched, we got tons of feedback from the community. Players loved the vastness of space and the freedom to explore, but we also heard lots of requests for more narrative-driven content. They wanted stories that felt personal and impactful, something that would draw them even deeper into the universe. So that was really our starting point. We wanted to create a DLC that expanded the universe in a meaningful way, but also delivered a narrative experience that felt rich and engaging. So this gives me, this is just my commentary here, this gives me a lot of hope that the producers of Starfield were actually able to weed out a lot of the noise and nonsense from people that were just hating on the game to just hate on the game and focus on what valid feedback and criticism there was. So that is probably one of the most valid criticisms of Starfield was there wasn't a lot of consequences for the decisions you made in a lot of the storylines, and they could have been a lot more narrative driven. For example, like there's really no consequence at the end of like the UC Vanguard questline for how you take it. Yes, you might see some Terramorphs, or you might not see some Terramorphs, you might see some Achilles, but it was rather minor in comparison to prior Bethesda titles. For example, Morrowind, just picking one faction to work with would lock you out of other factions. So at least I would like to see more consequences for the player's actions within the narrative of Shattered Space, and I think that's what he's kind of getting at here. Question 2. So what can players expect in terms of storyline? Any hints or teasers about what they'll be getting into? Tim Lamb. Definitely. While I can't spoil too much, I can tell you that this DLC is going to take players to a brand new sector of space, one that has not been explored in the main game. It's a region that's been shrouded in mystery, with a deep and complex history that players will uncover as they go. This area is strongly tied to the Varun House, a faction that many players were intrigued by in the main game. The Varun are devoted followers of the Great Serpent, a religious belief that shapes everything they do. In this DLC, players will dive deeper into their culture, their motives, and their power struggles within the house. A little bit of my commentary here. This tells me that at very minimum we're getting a brand new star system. By his use of the word sector, I would think it possibly maybe multiple star systems. Even though that the quest is going to be taking place on one planet, we might see several planets added to the game, or possibly multiple stars. At very minimum, at least one. I am extremely glad to see that they are going to be exploring the religion and infighting in House Varun. I think this is something that they've done extremely well in the Elder Scroll games, is approaching religion through the mechanism of fiction. So I think this is something that they've done very well in the past, and I'm glad to see that they're kind of returning back to it. And also, like, House Varun was definitely probably one of the most interesting factions within the base game, even though we saw so little of House Va'ruun as opposed to the other factions in the game. Question 3. The Va'ruun House was such a mysterious faction in the main game. How does the DLC explore their relationship with the Great Serpent and the rest of the Starfield universe? Tim Lamb. The Va'ruun House and their belief in the Great Serpent play a central role in this DLC. The faction has always been on the fringes, with their faith and practices often misunderstood or outright feared by others in the galaxy. In the DLC, players will be able to explore their sacred sites, uncover the origins of their beliefs, and see how the Great Serpent influences their decision. There's a power struggle within the faction itself between those who adhere to the traditional ways and those who believe it's time for a change. Players will have to navigate these internal conflicts, and their choices could determine the future of House Va'ruun. To add a little bit of context from Starfield's main game, we did see the Venom Tree in Star Station RE939 did cause a scientist to have a hallucination where he saw himself being eaten by a giant serpent. We also see in the Va'ruun embassy, we do see murmurs of these internal conflicts going on with, I believe it's like High Priestess Sia. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. But she visits the embassy and ends up storming out after having a little bit of a conflict with some UC officers. So I'm kind of very interested to see these kind of narratives develop a lot more under the Shattered Space DLC. So this is something that I'm very excited for, and like the prior question, I think Bethesda does a wonderful job of exploring religion through fiction. Question 4. How does this new content integrate with the existing game? Will it be something that players can access early on, or is it more geared towards those who have progressed further in the game? Tim Lamb. The DLC is definitely designed with more experienced players in mind. We wanted to make sure that the new challenges and the story felt appropriately scaled for those who have already invested time into building up their characters. That being said, it's integrated into the main game in a way that feels seamless. Players who are at the right point in their journey will feel that this new content fits naturally into the world they're already exploring. So that makes me think that there may be some kind of trigger event within the main storyline that starts Shattered Space, like maybe the Unity jump or something like that. I am not 100% sure. This is pure speculation on my part, but I do like that this DLC is going to be geared for more experienced players, people that have been playing the game. I was concerned that we were going to get this new DLC and it was going to be basically about the same challenge as the main storyline, be something I blow through in a weekend. So this is extremely exciting that we're going to be getting something that's geared towards more experienced players, and it's going to be more of a challenge and will likely take me and other players a little bit more time to get through. Question 5. You mentioned ancient ruins and lost technologies. Does that mean we can expect new gameplay mechanics or systems being introduced in this DLC? Tim Lamb. Absolutely. We've added a few new mechanics that we're really excited about. For example, there are new zero-gravity combat scenarios that really change the dynamic of how you approach fights. It adds a layer of strategy that wasn't there before. We've also introduced new ship customization options, which allow players to really tailor their vessels to their playstyle. And on the exploration front, there are new tools and gadgets that will help players interact with the environment in a deeper and more meaningful way. Just to add my thoughts to this, I'm excited for whatever changes may come to the zero gravity fights. I personally, in the base game, I found them kind of difficult to do and rather hard to control your character when you're in zero gravity in gunfights. As far as the new spaceship customization, I was never much of a shipbuilder. I did dabble a little bit, but I think this does explain why they fixed the bug with flip merging. So I think that was probably in preparation for new ship customization, kind of taking I'm guessing that there was some kind of conflict going on with that bug, so they kind of closed it up to make it so that you wouldn't be able to cause that conflict on your gameplay. So I'm speculating, of course, but I think that's probably why they changed a bug that no one was complaining about and people were enjoying. There was probably a good reason to it. And as far as new gadgets and mechanisms to explore the environments, kind of intrigued by that. I don't know exactly what is meant by that. I'd like to see your speculation, so if you have any ideas, please comment it below, because I don't know what he could possibly mean by that. Question 6. How does this new area compare to the rest of the game in terms of size and content? Tim Lamb. The new sector we've created is pretty substantial. It's not as large as the entire galaxy, obviously, but it's densely packed with content. We focused on making sure that every corner of this new area feels alive and has something for players to discover, whether it's hidden side quests, unique encounters, or just the sheer beauty of the landscapes. There's a lot to keep players engaged. It's less about the sheer size and more about the depth of the experience. So this kind of tells me that we're likely going to get 1, maybe 2 star systems, not a whole bunch, maybe a dozen planets / moons, but it's going to be a lot more densely packed with points of interest, amazing views like the one you see here, and little hidden side quests all about. So I believe that the main quest, or at least what I've heard from other YouTubers, that the main quest is going to be purely handcrafted, but you can venture outside of the main quest and experience procedural generation, like if you're exploring the planet outside the main quest itself. But from what he is kind of describing here, it seems like they might have added more content to the procedural generation in terms of like random side quests, points of interest, making crazy landscapes that are going to be mesmerizing, and kind of fine-tuning that. I never personally had any issue with the procedural generation, other than occasionally getting too much repeat content. So I think probably the easiest way to solve that is just pack it more dense with more content. So I think that's probably what they're doing here. So instead of, taking 50 hostile points of interest and spreading that across 1,000 planets, we're seeing, let's say 50 hostile points of interest spread across a dozen planets. And it will probably be a little bit more refreshing for people, with them retooling the procedural generation and figuring out a way that it works well with exploration. Question 7. How did you go about making this new sector feel distinct and fresh compared to the rest of the game? Tim Lamb, our art and audio teams really knocked it out of the park with this one. Visually, we wanted this sector to stand out. So you'll notice a lot of vibrant colors and unique environmental features that give it its own identity. The landscapes are more diverse, and we've played with the lighting in ways that really enhance the mood of different areas. On the audio side, we created a soundscape that reflects the mysterious and often eerie nature of this region. The music, the ambient sounds, it's all designed to keep players on their toes and fully immersed in the experience. So I think this is somewhere where Bethesda has always kind of excelled, is setting the ambiance through the soundtrack and the soundscape of environments. They've done it well with the Elder Scrolls series, as well as doing it well in the Fallout series. So this is something that I am very excited for, and I think it's going to be a rather different change from the main game, and I'm kind of looking forward to that. Question 8. What aspect of the DLC are you most excited for players to experience? Tim Lamb, for me, it's the story. We've worked hard to craft a narrative that we think will surprise players and challenge their perceptions of the Starfield universe. There are some big twists and turns, especially around the Varun House and the Great Serpent, that I can't wait to see how players react to. We really wanted to make something that would stay with the player long after they finished the DLC. So I think this was probably mainly in response to a lot of criticism around the main storyline in Starfield. A lot of people thought it was kind of shallow and didn't provide as much depth. I know I've seen some areas of it where the dialogue was not the best. I did enjoy the storyline, but it's definitely not one of the best narratives that Bethesda has crafted, and I think that was mainly due to making the world of Starfield. I think probably a lot of assets were put into building out the 1,000 planets and making all the mechanics work, and I'm kind of glad that that groundwork has been set and they can actually focus back on storytelling. And I think that's probably where they've gone in Shattered Space, is focusing more on the storytelling aspects for Bethesda games. So I'm kind of really excited for this story, and I think they're picking kind of a perfect topic in House Varun. It's very mysterious. It's religious oriented, which I have already mentioned. Bethesda does a fantastic job of exploring religion through fantasy mechanisms, so I'm kind of really excited for the story, and I'm excited that they've focused on the story and building in lots of twists and turns and allowing players to kind of determine the fate of House Varun and its direction. Final question. Is there anything else you want to share with the fans eagerly awaiting this DLC? Tim Lamb. Just that we've put a lot of heart and soul into this DLC. We've listened to the community, and we think this expansion will really resonate with fans. It's been a labor of love, and we can't wait for you all to experience it. Thanks again for having me. It's been great talking to you. So I think this was probably the best interview that came out of Gamescom in regards to Shattered Space. It gave us a lot of details without kind of spoiling the storyline, and gave us some stuff to look forward to. One of the things I am excited for is that this is going to be like a nice sizable area that they're going to be adding to the game itself. At least one star system and probably a couple different planets, with the home world of Varun Kai being the centerpiece for this quest, and it taking place primarily on there once we do get to that area, but having other areas for us to go ahead and explore and play around in. Other things that he did mention was that the sector that we're going to be going to is going to be packed with content. There's going to be probably new points of interest for us to go to, new sites for us to see, new side quests to find, and tons of new content, which I am looking forward to. Other aspects I'm looking forward to is I am looking forward to the fact that it is going to be geared to people who have been playing the game for a while, and it's not going to be geared for someone who's just stepping into the game. That was probably one of my major concerns, was I was going to, purchase this DLC. Am I going to have to start over a new character to actually enjoy it? Or am I going to be able to continue with my same character and still enjoy it? And I also do love the fact that we are going to be exploring House Varun. What's causing, there seems to be some kind of theological schism going on. We can see that from the main game, and I kind of want to learn more what's going on with this theological schism. How many minor houses are fighting with each other. And I do like that he did say our decisions in the main quests were going to be impactful on the fate of House Varun. So this is stuff that is very exciting, as well as like new gameplay mechanics coming to the game in the form of zero-G mechanics, ways to explore and interact with the environment more, and more shipbuilding customization options. So these are all things that I'm very excited for, but I would like to hear from you guys. What did you think about this interview? I also did link it in the description, so if you want to go read it yourself, you're more than welcome to, and please let me know what you think. And as always, have a wonderful night, and if you enjoyed this video, found it informative, please give me a like and subscribe. I always do appreciate them, and have a nice one.